And yo, we are back with the Sports Bag Bros podcast on a Thursday, heading into the weekend. And this weekend has a lot coming up. The NFL playoffs going into its second week. It's getting closer and closer to the Super Bowl. But yo, before we do any of that, what's up, Bias?
What's up? Happy Thursday. Let's get into it. Got NFL playoffs.
Yeah, NFL playoffs, man. But you know what? We got to do a little bit of rewinding right now. Bro, you hit it again with this freaking Bucks pick. I had to go with the Eagles. I gave my reasoning for why I picked the Eagles. Bruh, it doesn't matter. I guess I should have just stuck with what reality was. They couldn't get it together with the NFC East on the line against the Giants. Why the heck was it going to change against the Bucks when it's now a playoff spot? And it didn't.
That was my thinking. I don't think they could have figured it out in a week, and they obviously didn't. They managed 3 field goals. It was 32-9, and I don't think the game was really that close.
Yeah, but you know what? At least one storyline that we both agreed on going into the game was Baker Mayfield kind of being a sneaky under-the-radar player. He had a really good season this past season, the best season of his career, and he's led the way for it. This game was never in doubt.
Right. We talked about his play. He's raised his level. He's been in a good groove the last few weeks, and it continued. I want to say Monday, but it was Monday. I was thinking Sunday. And he did his thing. Their line pretty much handled the Eagles' defensive line. I think that's the most disappointing thing. If you're an Eagles fan, like, what the hell happened to our defense? They lost. They lost some
sacks, but
they lost some DBs. Yeah, but they didn't really harass Baker all day. Like they harassed Mahomes in the Super Bowl and other teams, or Dak Prescott this year. Mahomes had to play his ass off to beat that Eagles team. But that defense is just not the same. Neither is the offense. So I mean, I don't know. Like I said, there's something going on. I obviously I'm not privy to what's going on in that locker room, but I believe there's something going on.
Yeah, there may be. And I'll tell you what, it may start at the top, whether it's the coaching or could it be Jalen Hurts not playing well at all either? And what issues is he having? Did everyone catch up to him? Is he really not as good as advertised? Too late now. There's money been paid, and he has to live up to the contract. He hasn't played well at all. And in this game, he wasn't looking good until he got a couple of garbage yards toward the end, 250 yards, better than his pedestrian year, because this entire year, even when they were winning, he's had a pedestrian stat line. And
pretty much,
yeah, it's like, you look at this was such an anomaly of a season for almost all of the quarterbacks who had these phenomenal numbers. And then you look at the record, it's like, how the hell did this happen? You look at Russell Wilson, you see the numbers he had in Denver, and then they're talking about benching him, and rightfully so. Look at the record of the team. Kirk Cousins went through it in the early going, nice numbers, but you're not winning. They start winning, but then he's gone. So he had a lot of that going on this year. But Baker Mayfield, one of the guys who seemed to be exactly who we thought he was, at least for this game and a few games in between, 337 yards with 3 touchdowns. Man, I don't think people were expecting Baker Mayfield to do that. I mean, I certainly wasn't, because I would have picked him if I thought so. But
I tell you what, he's giving Buccaneers fans hope.
Yeah, he has. He does.
To Detroit. I think they're a solid dog. I haven't been sold on the Lions all year, so it wouldn't surprise me in the least if the Buccaneers come out of there with the dub.
Well, the Lions got their first win since 1991 in the playoffs, and we saw the crying fans. We talked about it on Monday, the crying fans. Now, they'll get a chance to cry again, one way or the other. So if they lose, they're going to cry. If they win, they can cry again. They'll move on, but then they probably will be leaving the confines of Detroit to continue this trip if the San Francisco 49ers can do their end of the bargain against the Green Bay Packers, but we'll get around to that later.
Hey, one thing about the Eagles, they even the brotherly shove got stopped on the 2-point conversion.
I thought that thing was unstoppable, man.
Right?
Apparently,
there was a face mask at the end, but he was already getting pushed backwards. He wasn't getting in the end zone.
Man, I tell you what, anytime you get with something in the NFL, you get away with it for such a period of time, and then ultimately it gets stopped. The Wildcat used to be the thing everybody jumped on. It got stopped. You saw when Colin Kaepernick was doing what he was doing with the run pass option and just the spread. That got stopped. They just kept hitting him. You know what I mean? And the NFL allowed him. Well, he's a runner now. Let's hit him. They hit him. and he had to give it up. And a lot of other quarterbacks kind of followed suit. Now the brotherly shove that looked like it could not be stopped. Now they're figuring out ways to stop it. It was just a brute strength play. You knew exactly where the play was going. Now people are digging in deep, and they're able to stop it. These NFL guys, the best of the best.
Right.
But so we look at that Tampa Bay game, and we see how impressive Tampa Bay was against the Philadelphia Eagles. Or did the Philadelphia Eagles play that poorly? I think Tampa helped them play poorly. It wasn't just them falling apart as they did toward the end of the season. The Buffalo Bills had some trouble with Pittsburgh. It looked easy early on, but then it got a little tenuous as it went on, and the Steelers had an opportunity. And then
that was a crazy game, man. I tweeted the route is on in Buffalo, and then the Steelers were driving down. I said, "Well, hold up, not so fast, my friend."
Yeah,
the Steelers showing some fight, and then they threw the interception. I'm like, okay, the route's back on again, but you gotta give the Steelers credit, man. They kind of hung in there. They made a fairly good game out of it. Buffalo won handily at the end, but they made it interesting.
They made it very interesting. And you have Mason Rudolph, who you don't expect to do really anything, but he's had a pretty solid 2 games, at least a couple of games this season, and in the playoffs now. But I just saw an article about Mike Tomlin still sticking with Kenny Pickett, which I believe he should. This is still your first-round draft pick from just 2 drafts ago. So you do give him an opportunity going into that 3rd year, which is usually the transition year in which a quarterback shows whether he's worth that pick you had picked him at, or if he's just something you need to move on from. But nevertheless, the arguments or the stories of Mike Tomlin needing to leave the Steelers was an absolute joke. He's staying around for 2024.
Yeah, that's a guy who's who I think he's got his feet planted firmly in Pittsburgh. When questioned, he's like, "Oh, I'm coaching next year." Like, there's no doubt in his mind, and I don't think there should be.
The Rooneys, man, they won't be the ones pushing them out, even though they're the ones who own the team. They've just been that kind of an organization and that kind of family for the entire time they've been the owners. I mean, just a handful of coaches over the history of that long history of the Pittsburgh Steelers. But Mike Tomlin, I know people talk about he hasn't won the big one. Well, he did win that 1 Super Bowl. There's been a few coaches that have won 1 Super Bowl, and they're still talked about as if they did a whole lot more than what they're doing. But not only did he win that 1 Super Bowl, his team is competitive every single year. And I know now you're getting the memes and you're getting the haters out there that talk about how he's just going over 500. Well, I guess that's better than a Super Bowl. Obviously, very facetious and being ignorant. But
look at everything he has to go up against. Back then, you had Brady and you had Manning. He's in a tough division. He's got Lamar Jackson. The Browns have the best defense in the league, pretty much. Yep. There's Joe Burrow. That's 6 games a year. He's playing badasses.
And then this year in particular, the quarterbacks he has, who the hell goes to war with these guys? I mean, Mason Rudolph played well, but he's been bouncing around for a reason. We already know what Mitch Trubisky does. And then we see.
I challenge anybody with this question. If Tomlin was the coach of the Cowboys, would they be getting bounced the way they do year after year in the playoffs? Would they be getting taken out back to the woodshed by the 49ers and the Eagles and the Buffalo Bills? And yeah, it's going to happen once in a while. Everyone has a bad game. But, I mean, consistently, every time you play a top team, you get blasted. I don't think that happens with Mike Tomlin.
That's a hell of a damn question to put out there. Does Mike Tomlin do better with the Cowboys? Do they continue to move on in the playoffs, or do they even get to the Super Bowl with him? I think his coaching does matter that much. And I understand the environment we live in right now, socially and otherwise, how people want to claim that he's only getting this credit because he's a black coach. Man, I think we're above that, or at least should be above that by now. We should even be talking
about. To never have
a
losing season. I don't care if he's green.
Green. The dude hasn't lost, period.
Orange, man. Purple. It don't matter what color it is.
Bill Cowher wasn't doing it.
He's a hell of a coach. Now.
Same organization. Bill Cowher wasn't doing it. They both got one Super Bowl apiece. And you could say he used Cowher's players. This isn't college, man. You don't use other coaches' players when he didn't win in back-to-back seasons. He didn't win the season after Cowher left. So the NFL moves around and changes, and he was there for the change, and he was there with Ben, just like Cowher, and he got his championship. But anyways, going back to the game itself, Josh Allen, Didn't we just talk about before the show ended or during the show? Man, this guy's a running quarterback, man. He's pretty much like a tight end out there. Then he breaks a 52-yarder.
Yeah.
Right, he does just that.
Yeah, that touchdown run was kind of crazy because they mentioned it on the broadcast. Most quarterbacks would slide after they got the first down. He saw a little crease and he went for it and he was gone.
That's it. He just picked up speed. But look how big the guy is. There aren't that many big quarterbacks running like that. First of all, there aren't that many big quarterbacks who can run like that. But he has the speed of a tight end. He has the size of a tight end. And he has that little chip on his shoulder where he's willing to take on some smoke if he needs to. And it just happens to be, I guess, with the rules involved as well, because you don't want to get into penalties, hitting the quarterback the wrong way or the not so right way. And he was able to kind of get away with it. But I think it was just pure ability with that particular run.
Yeah, that's all it was. He didn't have an open receiver. He started scrambling, went for the first down, saw the crease, and he went to the house. And there were DBs chasing him. I didn't see them making up ground on him.
Nah, the guy got speed. You know, I think there's no argument there because we've seen it before. We just hadn't seen it in one big 52-yard spurt. You know, it was like, okay, he got that 15-yarder. He might have gotten that 20-yarder. But when you look at 52 yards, you get a chance to see all of the dynamic, the speed, if he has any breakaway speed, how he runs tough, if people are kind of grabbing at him. You get to see all of that. Yep, but Josh Allen, he had a good game, but does that mean he's not going to have that good a game in Buffalo against Kansas City? He's been that kind of inconsistent this year.
That's true. But this is their first time playing the Chiefs at home in the playoffs. I know they're really excited for that. You know, we don't have to go on the road. They're coming to our house. You know, that could make a big difference. Bills Mafia going crazy. They'll probably start tailgating 48 hours before the game.
Exactly. And that's true. And another thing, I don't know, I think it's been talked about often now by this point. Patrick Mahomes, for the first time in his career, is doing a road game during the playoffs. Bro, does that matter? I think it does matter, especially it does matter in the playoffs. And he still doesn't have the weapons. He now has a new weapon in Rashee Rice, but is that enough in the playoffs to get them over the hump for a hyped up Bills Mafia and hyped up Buffalo Bills team when it comes to the final game on a Sunday night in Buffalo?
Right. And, you know, I'm sure Buffalo coaches, they watched the film of that game, and the Dolphins, they probably just played the receiver straight up. They don't know who to double, or we'll concentrate on Kelsey, and that freed up Rice. Maybe the Bills try and take away Rice, and he's got to throw balls to other guys who might drop him or who not going to have the same type of performance as Rice had last week. That remains to be seen. And plus, I mean, I think Mahomes is a dog, but
he is.
We've never seen him on the road, so he's still got to go out and show and prove.
Yeah, and that's true. And it is difficult. Now, weather-wise, I don't think there's any big deal because they both deal with really harsh temperatures. They just dealt with it in Kansas City. Buffalo has its own challenges, especially with the swirling wind in Western New York. But I think the better team at this point is Buffalo. That inconsistency bothers me. That's the only reason why I would not take Buffalo because of the inconsistency. But for this game, with everyone hyped, and you know how it's going to be in Buffalo, and there's something to prove, and Mahomes has been the nemesis of Josh Allen now for a couple of seasons. This is some payback, at least possibly.
Yeah. And that's Sunday night?
Sunday night game.
They play Sunday, right? So they will already know if the Texans upset the Ravens.
Yep, that's true.
And that could be more incentive. Man, we win this game. We get the AFC Championship game at home. The motivation can do a wonder sometimes.
You know, and that's true. You know, looking at and then knowing that, I don't know, you don't think players look at the road, the easiest road travel. You know, when you talk about how there may be an opportunity to play against the Texans instead of the Baltimore Ravens when those two get together, you would like to play the Texans because you believe that's the lesser of two evils. You know, you got a rookie quarterback. Something's got to give eventually. In your mind, you're at least saying that. But, man, Baltimore is coming into this game as they did in 2020, off of a bye. Lamar Jackson's in the argument for MVP. And now we're talking about players missing. Marlon Humphrey not playing as a cornerback in this game. And Andrews at tight end is a game time decision. It's up in the air. I think he plays, you know, coming back from that ankle injury. But Marlon Humphreys hasn't. I think he's only played 10 games this year anyway. But I think Baltimore is a team overall. You talking, bro? We haven't mentioned Odell Beckham Jr. I mean,
right. I mean, he's made somewhat of an impact, but he's not the same. He's
absolutely not the same.
Zay Flowers is the man on that team.
No question. I mean, in terms of talking about him from him running his mouth standpoint, and for him still being able to get a play when you need it because he's that good of a veteran standpoint, he's probably not going to break the big one. You said what?
He can make a big catch here and there.
Yeah, he can make the big catch, exactly. He can be that possession receiver. You know, as time goes on, you get injuries and just father time or mother nature and all that comes together. You slow down and you have to know the game. And he's a grizzled vet. He can still make a big play when he needs to, but it's still going to come down to Lamar Jackson. You know, all eyes are going to be on him because I think he's expected to blow it on Saturday when they play. I don't think he will, but that's the expectation because you saw the history. He has not played well in the playoffs.
Right, and not playing in week 17 at all. I would have played him at least a quarter.
Yeah, that's what I wanted.
He's going to have to shake off some rust. And them Texans, man, they come out balling. CJ Stroud and his offense, they move the ball. The defense, they're young, but they're fast.
Man.
They come out and play hard. They can punch Baltimore in the mouth, and before you know it, it might be 2020 all over again.
The only thing I can see is this young quarterback coming out in these elements in Baltimore outside, not the confines of Reliance Stadium where you can close the roof when you need to, open it back up when you want to. But at the same time, this is the same guy who played at Ohio State. You know? Yeah, he played at Ohio State. So the Texans.
Right. He's played outdoors before.
He's what?
He's played outdoors before.
Yeah. I'm saying he's played outdoors, but I mean this kind of weather. He's played outdoors when you talk about Ohio State. So it's not even really a matter of, okay, so now he's never seen this kind of weather. And is it really expected to be something that's going to affect the game weather-wise like you had in Kansas City? I don't think you're going to see any broken helmets in this game. You're just going to have some broken domes, some tackles. That's about it. But I'm thinking of Baltimore. Man, I
just think it's a very dangerous game for Baltimore. You got the Texans coming in. They're on the winning streak. You know, again, they went from winning in to winning the division, getting the home playoff game. Their offense puts up numbers. Like I already said, they move the ball, and their defense is young. Like they don't know any better. You know, they don't know they're not supposed to win, and they've been playing consistently. They played last week. Ravens haven't played in a few weeks or a couple of weeks, and for Lamar Jackson, it's been 3 weeks. I'm sure there's other people that haven't played in 3 weeks, so they're going to have to come out. That's a very dangerous game for them. They're going to have to come out totally focused, high intensity, because that's how the Texans are coming.
Yeah, because hopefully this home crowd really helps out. Well, we thought the same thing in 2020, but this time I think there's still a lot of the same on the line as it was in 2020, but I think Lamar Jackson is a better quarterback now than he was back then. We've pointed out several times throughout the entire season how he's changed as a quarterback, keeping his eyes down the field, not looking to run at the first instance of not getting his first or second read, rolling out, still keeping his eyes down the field and making plays that way. And then running when he feels like it is still making plays that way. I think that's the difference between what he was doing before and what he's doing now. And I think that should be enough, man. But man, I'm almost getting tired of talking against this Houston Texans team, man.
I think the Ravens, for them to win, they have to control the game and go into the fourth quarter with a 10-point lead. Because if it's tight, if it's a 3-point game and the Texans score and the Ravens have the ball with 6 minutes left, you know Lamar hasn't always come through in the clutch. He's had times where he has, but there's been other times where he's thrown interceptions, where he's fumbled or strip sacked, whatever. I don't think they want to be in a close game with the Texans because CJ Stroud, he's proven game after game at the end. 40 seconds, no problem. Let's go. First down, field goal, we win. I mean, that dude, don't leave him no time on the clock, man. Don't leave him any time on the clock.
Yeah, but you know what? According to the odds makers, and they've been pretty wrong throughout the entire playoffs and sometimes throughout the season, they're not supposed to be that close anyway. They shouldn't be within a field goal of having an opportunity to win a game on the road against the number 1 seed in the Baltimore Ravens. They're supposed to come in and, well, lose by that 10 points. But I guess some people are kind of thinking the way you're thinking right now because it's now dropped to 9 points. They said, you know what, put it over there to give them some of that Houston, Texas money. So,
I just think Houston's been there. Yeah, it wasn't the playoffs, but they've been there. They know in tight games they can score points, or their defense can make big plays. And the Ravens, in their close games there this year, they've lost to the Colts. You know, they lost. I'm trying to remember other games they lost.
They shouldn't have lost.
You're right. They should not have lost to the Colts, but they had an opportunity to go down and win. They didn't do it. So, you know, I talk about human nature and things that get in your head. Man, it's hard to overcome. We're like, oh shit, here we go again. You know,
but at home, I'm thinking that Baltimore home field advantage is going to really mean something this
time.
Their
biggest advantage is Justin Tucker. Get that ball to the 45, and you should be good. Get it to the 45, you should be good.
I think this can be a game where you say they have to control the clock. So who do you give it to? The second leading rusher on the team, Gus Edwards. I mean, right now, Lamar Jackson is the leading rusher on the team. We all know that, and he's kind of expected to run, but I think he's going to prove more with his arm than with his legs on Saturday. So you do give it to Gus. Let Gus run it, the tough yards in between, and he's the consummate tough yard running back. He'll go between the tackles. He has just enough lift in his speed to get out to the outside, but he feels pretty comfortable inside, and he gets that 4 yards of carry and kind of keeps the chains moving, and still with not knowing what Lamar's going to do, you know what I mean? It really keeps you off balance. So I think that's one of the biggest reasons why I can pick them. But man, my picks have been not looking right lately. These are the I'm gonna have to start making picks I know I would put my own money on. You know what I mean? So guess what? If I got my own money, I would pick Baltimore because not only because it's the right thing to do, they're the better team. And I understand CJ Stroud has been, man, he's through the roof right now. He's better than veterans right now. You know, I mean, he's a top 7 quarterback in the league right now. If you want to just look at the way things have played out this season, and not his whole career, 1 season. So he's already a top 7 quarterback in my opinion. But sometimes the moment gets a little too big, and I think a playoff game with a rested team could be that game in which he realizes, okay, there's levels to this. I got time to work.
It could be. It's imperative the Ravens get the running game going. Yeah, that will set up, you know, the play action and the RPOs, and Likely, or I don't know if Andrews plays, but Likely has stepped in nice. You know, he's made some big plays for them. I think it's kind of difficult because the Ravens haven't played in a couple of weeks, and Lamar Jackson sat out week 17.
Yep.
So we haven't seen him in a while, and we saw Houston last week. And I don't think it's recency bias because I'm looking at the whole thing. I just see the Texans, they've been rolling, man.
They have.
They're like a tidal wave coming to the shore. It's gonna be hard to stop them.
They've been that way. But I know what, with all this film being watched, I could see Baltimore watching what the Indianapolis Colts had done, how they schemed against CJ Stroud. I mean, he still pulled it off, but they were a pass away from Gardner Minshew to Rhodes from going into the end zone and ruining everything and just kind of putting the Cinderella story to sleep for a season at least. But this Baltimore team across the board is better, and the deciding factor on their offense, we know for both teams, it's the quarterback, which it probably should be for most teams, the quarterback. But man, just the way as methodical as the Baltimore Ravens have been this year, going out to San Francisco, I can't even forget how that went down. I mean, people act like Brock Purdy just threw 4 interceptions because Brock Purdy's Mr. Irrelevant. No, Baltimore made him throw 4 picks because Baltimore's that good. And then they kept scoring and you couldn't do anything about it.
Right. So, yeah, I'm picking the Ravens. It's hard to pick against him.
Yeah, it's hard to pick against the Ravens, man. But right now it gets to a point it's almost hard to pick against CJ Stroud, man.
I just think the Texans are a dangerous matchup for the Ravens.
They are. I mean, there's no question that they're dangerous. And man,
actually, for anybody.
Yeah. Then you said it in particular before the playoffs started, man. I don't think people want to see the Houston Texans before the playoffs even started. And I don't think no one wanted to see them last week, and look at what happened. They just keep rolling through. man, they come into Baltimore confident, young guys that are confident. It's a little different when veterans kind of, they're used to that. When you're just nice with your new Christmas gift of winning, as a young kid, man, you just exuberant for the entire game. Someone has to beat it into you that, you know what, it's not your day.
Exactly. I'm here trying to think of a score to predict. I'm not even sure of a score. I'm going with the Ravens, but I don't know. I'll say 30-20.
I'm going to go with 31-21. 31-21 Baltimore.
We're close.
Because I think that Baltimore can score. I mean, they can score on anybody. They've been doing it all year. But, man, this C.J. Stroud factor, man, that is a serious factor. I know you can say that for any quarterback that's now in the playoffs, their quarterback is going to lead the way, man. But in his case, he really is that factor. If he went down, that whole team loses. They lose the defense just plays different. Everyone plays different if he goes down. I doubt it, but he's going to look good because there's a difference between when he was down and they played the Jets and got absolutely obliterated, and then when he's there, when they go to the playoffs and go on a run and do what they've been doing since he got back. So yeah, it has a lot to do with him. But the Ravens, I think it's hard to pick against the Ravens. I'm not trying to make a short story long, but the Ravens should win this game. Not even a Vegas thing, just the eyeball test, common sense, anything else. Outside of that, an upset's an upset if it does happen.
So who are you picking for the Bills and Chiefs?
Now the Bills and I'm going with man, you know what? I haven't been really that big on Kansas City all season. I mean, the Detroit game, it started off that way. And it's kind of like they did a little fool's gold rendition for a little while, but then kind of showed their kinks again with the receivers still dropping passes. Then Travis Kelce decides to join in, dropping passes. And then the Taylor Swift thing comes in. Things don't look quite right. I'm going with Buffalo. I mean, the Bills Mafia, that's a real thing up there. It matters, man. I think Buffalo should pull it off against them.
I'm going Buffalo as well. The Chiefs won handily, but again, it was the Dolphins. Dolphins haven't beaten anybody of consequence, So that win doesn't impress me. And like I said, I think they're going to have a plan for Rice. They're not going to find it as easy to go up and down the field. So I'm going to pick the Bills 24-17.
Yeah, the weather's not even going to be an issue here. I can see, let me see the Bills. No, you know what? 24-21 could be a game that they could win. I'm not saying they should be able to blow them out because I don't think you're going to, you know what? You possibly can blow Kansas City out, but I'm going to take the Bills because of that inconsistency I was talking about before. They had that good game. Here's the game where they probably come back down to earth, but still enough to beat Kansas City, who really hasn't gotten it this year to being the Kansas City that we've come to know.
Yeah. I mean, all it takes is Buffalo takes the opening kickoff, they score, ball goes off the hands of a wide receiver, DB catches it, takes it to the house, and it's 14-0, 3 minutes into the game, 4 minutes into the game. We've seen it happen, so it's not like it can't happen again.
We saw it happen with Joe Flacco.
We've seen it with Mahomes.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? With Mahomes.
He's had like 3 or 4 interceptions just like that this year.
And isn't this the first season, I think, that I can remember him showing real frustration on the sidelines when guys are making mistakes? It's no longer smiling and being no sneakerhead anymore. Yeah. He's out there, getting shown on his face that, I'm frustrated that guys are dropping these balls that they're getting paid to catch. I'm putting it where it needs to go. And then you get Travis Kelce doing the same thing. He's shown some frustration this season that he hadn't shown in his entire career, kind of like that front runner attitude because he's used to being on top. Now he's coming through the back door and he's going to have to go through Buffalo to continue the legacy he started.
I think the frustration comes from him not able to say exactly what he would like to say.
That image.
My receivers suck.
Well, that's what he wants to say.
Let the whole world say it, but he can't say it, right? So that's probably where the frustration comes from. He's bottling stuff in. He's not expressing himself. So he attacks the referees, So I can understand his frustration. I'd be frustrated too if you have 3 pick sixes that your receivers dropped before the guy intercepted it.
No question. But he's not supposed to be that guy. When you start seeing the body language of a football player, a great one that everybody's had, he has this great image. He has that kind of Steph Curry image to where, you can't, You can say what you need to say.
I'm a Steph Curry guy, but let's not forget he threw his mouthpiece in the stands.
Exactly. He's done that, showing his frustration.
Too.
But he never,
nobody's perfect.
I don't think these guys go to the point to where they're going to curse somebody out, or you're going to really see something on the sidelines. We saw that, what was it, AJ Brown and Hurts earlier in the season. Those dudes just going at it, man. I mean,
a thought just came into my head. Like, let's say Kelsey drops 3 more passes, because I think he dropped 3 last Saturday. And what's the thing that he would want to say? Man, you used to catch everything before you started dating that bitch up in the suite.
Yeah. You start picking that bitch my auto. You gotta pay better than that, my auto. Come on, man.
I got you on my commercials, and now you can't catch the ball.
I was saying, put
send
him
that
on,
trick
and my
home.
man just changed the whole game the wrong way.
Send that trick home, man. Catch the ball.
Man, but yeah, I think Kansas City's going to catch a fine and lose. In Buffalo, this is a lot of get back from a couple of seasons now. Buffalo had their problems with Kansas City. Now they get him in New York, in Buffalo. I think they get a chance to handle them. I don't think they let this opportunity go. Too big an opportunity, and it's at the right time. Kansas City isn't who we thought they were in the beginning of the season. They're who we've seen throughout the season, the inconsistencies and stagnated offense because of the drop passes. One receiver, a young receiver at that, probably doesn't change the complexion of this right now. So I think
going back to my point that they played the Dolphins. What if they played the Texans last week? They wouldn't have won so easily.
No. I don't think they won at all. CJ Stroud's playing.
But they may not have won at all.
Well, they didn't. Now, they would have had the home field advantage in that case. Right. You know what I mean? So CJ Stroud would have had to play in that bitter weather as well. But, yeah, if they continue playing the way they've played and they end up beating Buffalo, and then you have CJ Stroud taking care of business, well, hey, they might meet up after all. We'll get a chance to see it. And it will be in Kansas City if they do get that opportunity.
Yeah, here's my concern. I know we talked a lot about the Ravens and Texans. It just dawned on me. We thought the Browns were a great defense. Yeah, people think the Ravens are a great defense. They made the Browns look like scrubs.
Yeah, and Marlon Humphrey's out too in that secondary. And we've seen, man, with Nico Collins, man, this is what we're talking about at wide receiver for the Houston Texans.
Right.
And he's throwing dimes no matter if you're open, he's throwing dimes. And let's not forget Devin Singletary running the way he's been running as well. Mm-hmm. I watched the kid since he was in high school here in the state of Florida. The kid's always been a good player. Goes to Florida Atlantic University. Not that it's a bad school, but you would expect his type of talent to play at a bigger school. But nevertheless, in the NFL, he was good in Buffalo. Now he's down in Houston. He's really picking up and making his way down there as a running back. Now he's one of those young running backs with a young quarterback, with a young overall team, defense included. And they're just on a roll right now. One of those Cinderella stories that people are jumping on the bandwagon, even if they're not fans of the Houston Texans right now.
Right. So going to Detroit, I got Baker. I mean, I kind of alluded to it.
Man, I almost don't want to go against them now.
I'm going with the Buccaneers. I'm going to say 34-24.
No, I picked Detroit to do well this season. I didn't expect this part. I just expected them because they showed last season that they were ascending. And I felt, okay, so what's ascending for the Detroit Lions fans? Well, just winning, having a winning season. And not only do they do that, they get a home field, they win the division, and they win that game, and now they're here. They're back at home again. I think they almost acting like they deserve to be here. Well, yeah, you earned it, so you deserve to be here, but they act like they belong here now. Does Tampa Bay belong there as well? I think Baker Mayfield being around as long as he has, I think he's the Rich Gannon of today to where he's kind of getting his mojo together right now. Jared Goff is the one. What was it, Jared Goff, right? Here's the one.
And think about as well as Mayfield played, the Buccaneers dropped passes. Mike Evans, he probably dropped a touchdown. There was like 3 or 4 drop passes in that game. Or if they catch the ball, like I said, that game was 32-9, but I don't think it was that close. And I predicted 42-10. So yeah. I think I was on pace for 42-10. Those guys don't drop the ball. But anyway, it would not surprise me at all if Buccaneers come out with that.
And that's true. And it's indoors, so it's not a weather factor going on. Down in Tampa, there was no real weather factor. They had excellent weather down there when they played. But man, I played against Philly. In fact, it was a vacation for Philly coming from up there in that cold weather down here. But yeah, man, that's a hard game for me to pick because I'm looking at Baker Mayfield. I'm kind of going back on things I've said about Baker Mayfield throughout the season. I've always wanted to see him succeed, man. Well, in the beginning I didn't because I didn't like him when he came out of Oklahoma, and I didn't like him with the Cleveland Browns in the beginning. It must have been the commercials. I kind of liked it, with the security code. But anyway, yeah, I want Baker Mayfield to do well, but I also want Detroit to do well. See, you have a reason not to. You're an NFC North guy, and they're up there with your team. But man, I just don't like Jared Goff. I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield as well. So hey, Baker Mayfield getting it done again. Rich Gannon 2.0, trying to carry this team on. I mean, it's a talented team, by the way.
But to speak to what you just said about me having something against the Lions have never done anything for me to,
and that's true,
to dislike them. So if they win another game, what big deal?
From the very beginning, you hadn't liked the Lions or you didn't believe in the Lions, and now they're at this point to where they're now 2 games deep into the playoffs. They have to do something here to kind of.
I'm saying it won't bother me. Like I don't have anything against them. I just don't believe in them.
I'm just, man, I do believe in him. I just believe in Baker Mayfield a little bit more right now. And the way he's been playing, he's hot. Jared Goff, I just don't believe in that guy at all. I never believed in him even when they were in the Super Bowl. It wasn't because of him. That defense was ferocious that year. But either way, I think right now, Detroit loses one at home. I don't want to see them crying because of a loss. I want to see them crying because they won again. But I think the Bucs will be able to handle that and take care of that business, man. So if there's a score to come out of this, it's going to be a score that kind of up in the 30s, probably 31 or 24 kind of score for the Bucs. I mean, they've shown they can get those points.
We're on the same page. I said 34-24. Okay. So let's get to the big one, San Francisco and the Fudge Packers.
Man, you know what? That is a big game. And San Francisco had their week off, just like Baltimore's had their week off as a number 1 seed. They're coming back after they just got their butts handed to them a couple of weeks ago by the Baltimore Ravens. Brock Purdy trying to prove that, they keep saying he's good, and then they say he's not that good. Then they talk about Mr. Irrelevant again. Then they're going to give him more props again. But then, going into the playoffs, he's a tough dude, if nothing else at all. He has the whole team around him this time. No injuries to really worry about. These guys are at least fresh. At this point in the season, don't expect training camp fresh. Expect playoff fresh. And it's good enough because everybody's in the same boat. He has Christian McCaffrey. We already know that. He has Kittle. He has Samuel. I mean, he has those guys on offense. Then Trent Williams on the offensive line. We already know about his story, and he's coming back next year. And then on defense, we already know how good that defense is. We mentioned those guys several times, and they've been getting their sacks this year. In the interior with Javon Hargraves, and we already know what Eric Armstead does, and we already knew what Nick Bosa does. So
and they added Chase Young.
And added Chase Young. Come on, man. And he's going to be doing a lot of chasing. Come on, come Saturday. He's doing a bit of chasing. Now, looking at what Jordan Love has done from the first game until now, this guy's made such an improvement between the first game and now. He's made the improvement you would make in college. You know what I mean? And the pros of the final plateau, you see incremental improvement, and then you're kind of able to draw your conclusion probably by midseason saying, oh, okay, he's good. He's going to be a solid quarterback in the league. This dude is his trajectory based on what I've seen looks like it's heading towards star status. And because it's Green Bay, it could possibly be superstar status, but not so fast, my friend, with all that. But as it stands right now, man, he hasn't shown that he has real kinks in the armor because it's a road game. He looks good.
So I think Bosa hit the nail on the head. The Cowboys didn't make him uncomfortable. And so that tells me and the whole world, get ready because I'm coming. Right? Now he has to get in that backfield and wreak havoc. He's got to make Jordan Love uncomfortable. But thing is, he's not a lone wolf. You got Chase Young on the other side, and you mentioned the other guys, Hargrove and so
Armstead,
and Armstead. If they're not able to get to him, he's proven if he has time, he's gonna find his guy.
Yeah,
but
and Devontae
White. I still can't pick them because the 49ers have even more weapons.
Exactly.
You mentioned them, McCaffrey, Kittle, Samuels, Ayuk on offense.
Everything.
I don't see and I don't think the Packers defense is that good. They look pretty decent early against the Cowboys, but we talked about it on Monday. Zach couldn't hit CD Lamb. He's throwing the ball behind him, throwing it over his head.
Yeah, those guys were not on the same page.
I think that was more Dak being Dak than the Packers playing great defense. So if Purdy has time, he's got too many weapons. I don't think the Packers be able to keep up with him. So I'm going to say 38-24.
But Devontae Wyatt, he plays defensive line for the Packers. And he was the one that talks about how if you put pressure on Brock Purdy, he's guaranteed to throw a pick. So now he's getting that bulletin board material going. And do you really want to do that going into the Hornets Nets, known as in San Francisco?
Especially since they've been beating them consistently in the playoffs.
Yeah, right? And this is your quarterback's first time in the playoffs as a starting quarterback. And even though he's played well, we know how things can go in the playoffs, especially when things do get tough. Now, they do have the benefit of having already played on the road, going down to Dallas in front of that raucous crowd and shut them up pretty early and quick. Now they go to San Francisco where you're going to have a different kind of crowd. They can get loud, but I don't look at them as the same way I look at a lot of loud crowds, going to Philly, getting a loud crowd there, Dallas having a loud crowd, Green Bay having a loud crowd. I don't see them going to San Francisco having that kind of crowd, but it doesn't matter. The players are on the field. And those are enough players to get a lot of separation. And that defense, man, not too many teams. Baltimore's a special team, at least during the regular season. So they put the points up, and they were getting after it defensively. Green Bay, as you say, I don't think they got that. It was more Dallas being that bad than Green Bay being that good defensively. And so I think San Francisco, the way the games have been going this year too, I may see a 40 spot in this game. May see a 40 spot, man, because everyone has the ability to score. And then on defense, strip sacks, all those things, man.
Yeah, we could be. I said 38-24, so I'm right there, close to 40.
Yeah, Green Bay, 20. I think 41-21. I think it's a comfortable win. And nice rest for everybody, at least on San Francisco's side, and moving on to the next one. So, yeah, San Francisco, man, I hate to say the playoffs, especially against a team that did so well last week that should be no problem. But guess what? Shouldn't be a problem, man. They're that good. And it's the NFC. True. The NFC, in my opinion, isn't as good as the AFC this year. But, with
the collapse of the Eagles, I can see that.
Yeah. So, I do see that San Francisco winning 41-21, dropping a 40 spot and winning comfortably. Vegas is safe with this one, especially when you're going with the favorites. So that shouldn't be a big deal.
So let's talk about the Cowboys and not firing McCarthy. What do you think about that?
After 5 seasons, I thought he was gone. Jerry Jones, man, he was saying all those things that made it seem like he wasn't going to let him stay around, but he's around. And is it him? Or is it just a Dallas Cowboy thing? Or is it a Jerry Jones thing? I don't know what to say. I'm you know what? Believe it or not, I never really thought that highly of Mike McCarthy anyways. Kind of like Mike Holmgren, I didn't think too highly of. But, man, I don't know, man. You come from that Green Bay tree and you get a lot of respect when you probably don't deserve it. But he does have a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I don't get it. Excuse me. If I was the owner of the Cowboys, and I talked about it on Monday, that coaching staff was not prepared. They didn't have an answer for anything Green Bay was doing. Not an idea. No clue what was going on. They couldn't stop him. They didn't try to stop him. They had 6 DBs on the field when Green Bay was just running down their throats.
Yeah, right. That doesn't make any sense.
They almost averaged the first down on first down.
Dime coverage when dudes is running it down your throat. That's never going to make sense.
And you don't come out of that formation. That's coaching. I mean, it's not like the players saying calling the dime defense. Yo, coach, I'm going out there on first down. No, it's the defense,
plan, man.
The DC. And if the head coach ain't smart enough to go walk over to the DC or call up to the booth, whatever, hey man, get out of that stupid defense you're in. They're running down our throats. I mean, to me that speaks volumes. He was not prepared, and he obviously can't adjust on the fly because they needed to adjust and they didn't. So if I'm the owner, you're out of here. And I would try and trade Dak as well.
Well, man,
like he showed me. People always say when people show you who they are, believe them. Well, I believe him. He chokes in the playoffs. He's the James Harden of the NFL.
James Harden, bro. But man, I don't know. But who are they going to get? Who else can they bring in? They have Trey Lance on the roster. Do you elevate this guy? You're taking steps back because we still don't know anything about him.
Hey, the Bears want to trade the number 1 picks.
And that's true too.
Give us a package.
Jerry Jones is known for some wheeling and dealing, man. I remember my first NFL
but Dak's not included in that package. We don't want Dak.
Nah. But I remember, man, back when Jerry Jones or the Dallas Cowboys, my first draft going in, and they just traded like so often in that draft, got so many draft picks, and that was in addition to the Herschel Walker stuff they had gotten in '89, and they manipulated the entire first round of the draft. That's back when it was only 28 teams, and they set a new record for the length of the first round because of Dallas. They'll wait till we get to like 1 second. The Dallas has talked about a trade. They got a trade damn.
So I got it figured out. There's rumors the Falcons are offering the Bears the number 8 pick for Justin Fields. You know what, Atlanta? Here's Dak. Give us the number 8 for Justin Fields. I mean, for Dak Prescott. Now Dallas has 2 first-rounders. Throw in a couple players. Hey, Bears, we want that number 1 pick. You get the number 8. You get the 20 whatever. You get these players. They get Caleb Williams. As long as they don't have to trade CeeDee Lamb or Micah Parsons, they should be good.
Now, Caleb Williams. Now, I'm a little skeptical about him going into.
I am too, but hey.
I know.
Have him on the Cowboys.
You want to benefit, if it's going to get you what you want. Hey, forget Dallas. They'll just continue on the downward trajectory they're on now if they got a quarterback.
They're going to choke in the playoffs anyway. So,
yeah. Speaking of those Falcons, man, they've interviewed Bill Belichick. They brought him in for a second interview now, and they've also interviewed Mike Vrabel, who has been fired from the Tennessee Titans. What are your thoughts on those 2 guys? One legendary.
I saw Belichick came in for a second interview. I'm like, you didn't find out enough about him
I'm about to say.
First interview?
I was going to ask
enough already?
I was going to ask that, man. What do you do in an interview with Bill Belichick? So what do you bring to this organization? What's your experience? I mean, come on now. Bill Belichick, if he says he wants your job, you kind of you put him in the small room, like, this is the guy we got. Let's see if we can get anybody else. And if we don't get in the next 2 people, the people we want, we're just going to take him. And your team interviewed Cliff Kingsbury as an offensive coordinator. Bro, good move if they can, because he may be a North Turner kind of guy who just can't coach as a head coach. Offensively, though, he was that guy down at Texas Tech running that Mike Leach offense, and then he took over a lot of principles of what Mike Leach was doing when he coached in college, and he was doing well with it. It's just that he may not be that head coaching guy, but offensive coordinator-wise, he knows how to do something with a quarterback. I think he got the butt end of it dealing with Kyler Murray down in Arizona.
I think that would be a good hire, much better than Roman from.
Yeah, I think so. Kingsbury, he knows something about offense.
Yeah, and I hadn't heard that, so hopefully that's their guy.
Yeah,
but the thing that's bothersome about all these openings and the names I'm hearing, they have the Rooney Rule, and all I'm hearing is Harbaugh, Belichick, Vrabel. So they're going to interview all these people, and then at the end bring in
a
person of color.
Yeah,
we interviewed one, but you didn't really consider him. You brought him in at the end just to check off the box.
Exactly, man. That's why I thought the Rooney Rule, even though the intent was noble, the execution just had no other choice but to go wrong, because it gives them the opportunity to do that. Just bring in somebody.
People in the league office got to be like, all right, you interview 5 people, and then 2 weeks later you brought in this guy. You're not following the spirit of the rule. You lose a draft pick. Yeah,
however way they're going to execute that, because
there's got to be some type of punishment.
After the Brian Flores,
use a second-round draft pick.
After
the first is too hard, but second, there you go.
And I see where you're coming from, because after the Brian Flores deal, man, I don't know if it helped or did it hurt the opportunities for Black coaches, Latino coaches. Ron Rivera, is he still out there? Is their team? Is he worth hiring now? Now, I've always liked Ron Rivera, man. I think people completely forgot what he done in Carolina when those guys, went 15-1. Come on, man. He was the coach, and then in Washington, when no one does well since Joe Gibbs, what are you going to do there? Seriously. I think he needs another opportunity. So yeah, it goes all the way around. But it's funny how this Brian Flores deal just kind of disappeared as well. But yeah, they're legitimate coaches out there. I don't want Mike Tomlin to be the black coach. I want Mike Tomlin to be the coach. And he's been that coach, regardless of what his race is, man. He's been that good of a damn coach all these years. But we know how things are going to be. People are going to always invoke race one way or another, whether it belongs or whether it doesn't belong. But yeah, the Rooney Rule is there, and it gives people many opportunities to screw up, and they've been doing it.
It's kind of frustrating because it seems women are getting more opportunities to be coaches, and that I'm okay with that. If they can do the job, let them do the job. But women are going to get more opportunities to be an assistant this or an assistant that.
I think they're forcing that kind of thing. I mean,
over people of color getting head coaching job opportunities.
Yeah, and that's true. They'll put the women in front of even that, because I'm thinking that that's a force-fed thing. And over football, if a woman knows her football well enough, I can accept that and go out there and if you're going to coach. But I just think there are a lot more qualified men who can do the same thing and better. That's just my opinion on that one. I mean, seriously, I'm not even one of these.
If you're just looking at the pool, more men have played football.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. There's more men who are deserving. So whether they played or didn't play, Charlie Weiss was getting jobs and the guy didn't play. Mike Leach was an attorney. He was getting opportunities and he didn't play. So I'm looking at just if there's qualified players out there, why are you going outside of that qualified pool just to push some type of agenda? I mean, seriously, just because you want to be the first to do this or the first to say that, we're still in the age of first, and that's crazy in its own right in 2024. The first this and the first that still.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, Bears need a DC and OC. Nebraska hired a quarterbacks coach, so.
Yeah. Oh, but who did they hire?
I can't remember his name. He has good credentials. He was with Rule in the NFL, I believe.
Oh, bet. So you know what? Yeah, that wouldn't be a surprise there coming from the NFL since he's been over there in Carolina. But yeah, as a note in college football, I've been hearing how
losing people.
Who? Oh, Bama lost everybody, man. Go bench press about 200 pounds a little later on and call up old Kalen and say, hey man, can I get in? Get out of here. Yeah, it's crazy what's going on up there. But this is what we're living with right now. And believe it or not, I'm still thinking once everything kind of comes together, this coach is that good to where there won't be as big a drop-off as people want and as people are expecting from Alabama. He is that good a coach. And I think once everything kind of shakes out, Alabama is still a legacy program where players are going to come because it's Alabama. Now we're in a new age now where people are coming because of the coach, and it was Nick Saban, but still it kind of mellows out to where it's still Alabama, and the best players in Alabama still want to go to Alabama. When you look at the players who are leaving now, you had a player from Georgia leaving. You have Caden Proctor now leaving. He's from Iowa, not native Alabamians, from what I know right now. So, yeah, those top players are still going to probably come to Alabama from Tennessee, which is close by, or from Alabama itself. And I think that Du Bois is going to do a damn good job having those guys there. And his coaching would be the reason why, even in a more competitive SEC, because Texas and Oklahoma are coming in. Yeah, man, I think he's going to still do well up there. But Deion Sanders has said that he's talking to recruits, and these recruits have been taping other teams' coaches talking trash about Deion and the Colorado Buffaloes. Not surprising, but how tacky is that?
I think that's gone on forever.
It has. I don't think it's just I think there's a little extra cheese when it comes to him.
If you're a Georgia recruiter, you're gonna badmouth Bama. You're gonna badmouth Clemson, Florida. That's just the nature of the beast. So I don't think it's a big deal.
You know what? I could probably understand the nature of those so-called insults and things that have been said. Now, I'm not even going to throw the racial angle because I don't think that's the issue. I think calling him a clown or something like that might be somewhere in those video tapes.
Personal attacks on Deion. Well, that's out of pocket.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. They're talking about him and the program. So, and I asked, I've seen the recruiting game before, and coaches saying, so and so won't be there that long. Look at his age. He won't be there that long. They're going to get rid of him, and that's why the guy comes there. It may have happened with Bobby Bowden as he was getting older. He won't be there forever. He won't even be there to see you graduate. Well, you're not graduating anyway, so you don't have to come. But anyway, yeah, I see how it can go like that. But for those recruits to record it, that's kind of tacky on their behalf, man. You're trying to start nonsense. Come on.
Did Deion tell them to to record?
No. He was just saying that when he came to recruit them, they saved it because I guess his team was one of the teams that's on the ledger in terms of either in-home visits, or I don't know, having your official visit. And they just happened to have their recorder ready once he came, or once the other guys came, and they just played it for him to show this is what's going on behind your back. A little extra sauce when it comes to Deion as opposed to the next coach.
I guess if it's personal attacks on Deion, well, that's out of pocket and uncalled for.
Yeah,
about the program, I mean, that's the nature of the beast.
Yeah, and that's true too. But now, well, we close it down on the NBA, man. Big trade, yo.
Yes, y'all can go into the Pacers. Trade what? Solid trade. It helps the Pacers. I still don't see them as a championship contender, but it'll help them. It moves them up a couple of spots in the East, but they should still be behind the Celtics, Bucks, and Sixers.
Yeah. And on top of that, Halliburton's coming back. He's, I guess, questionable to come back after that strained hamstring. I thought he'd be out a little longer, man. A hamstring is nothing to play with, especially when you have those fast twitch and a player like him, man, that one sudden move, you feel that yank again, bro. You're out even longer the next time.
Yeah, I hope he's healthy. Don't want to see him miss more time.
So the Lakers played against the Mavericks last night. I caught a little bit of that game because that game came on just too late, man. I'm getting old. So, but hey, they end up losing. And they say that Luka plays well against anytime he plays LeBron, he tries to bring his A game. And he kind of brought his A game. He looked all right last night. I mean, hell, he looked better than all right last night. Did you get a chance to watch it?
No, but I did watch some highlights this morning.
Yeah, I mean, what they were talking. I mean, Stephen A. was talking about during the pregame how they were how they were outscoring teams by 10, and now they're being outscored by 8. I think right now, and it's like a
Mavericks
swing. Yeah, the Lakers. How they kind of regressed since the in-season tournament.
Oh yeah, I mean that's been going on for a few weeks. I mean they were under 500. I think they won 2 in a row. They might be at 500 now. I was surprised they beat the Mavericks based on how they have been playing.
That's true. That's what I was expecting. But
so, I don't know. I know Ham's been trying different lineups, trying to motivate different guys. We'll see. They might have a decent stretch for a few games, but if it's all LeBron and AD, they can't keep it up for 82 games.
Oh,
We'll get back into another bad stretch.
And you can't rely on AD to be healthy. You can't rely on AD to be healthy. You can't rely on LeBron at 39 years old, more than half of his life in the NBA, to continue playing at a high level, even though he's a marvel right now doing it. But it just can't be those two. What's up with these young guys they're supposed to have and bring along and see what they're doing? I mean,
it could be they have the same issue as the Warriors, where Kerr's not playing the young guys. He hasn't developed the young guys, and now the older guys, other than Steph, are not performing, and the young guys haven't raised their game. Well, that's Kerr's fault for not developing them. I watched one game. Moody was the only one scoring, keeping them in the game. He had three three-pointers in like a 2-minute stretch. And then there's a timeout, and he replaced Moody. And then they went on the scoring drought. Why you replace the only guy scoring? Boy, was he playing too well, making you look bad?
Maybe he has some win in the game.
I don't know.
I don't know.
So it could be where. Well, I can't say it's the same thing for Ham because he's trying different lineups. Kerr's messed with the lineup a little bit, but now that Draymond's back, I'm sure he's falling into the same old small lineup that can't beat people anymore. But if the others aren't getting it done, the Lakers are going nowhere, and the Warriors are already showing you they're not going nowhere.
Nah, and then you have the Klay Thompson episode. What's going on with this guy? I mean, he doesn't look like he's going to get any better. He seems like he's in the twilight of his career, which starts with the injury, and it seems like he never really recovered from the injury.
unfortunately for Clay, I think it's in his head. I think he's awfully arrogant. He's living off his past laurels. He's living off the 4 championships. They're getting the brakes beat off them last year.
Yeah.
Booker's giving them the business and letting them know about it. And he's walking off the court saying, I got four, implying Booker has none. And that's true. But you're currently getting your ass whipped by 40, dude. And now he should be playing for a contract. He wants a new contract. I'm sure he wants a new contract from the Warriors. But if I'm the Warriors, bro, you're shooting 20% in the fourth quarter. I'm sure I can find somebody better than that.
Yeah, right.
So
for a lot cheaper. Damn.
I don't know. And the other thing is, they ask him about the fans booing him. He's like, "Am I supposed to lose sleep over it?" But he said he's supposed to lose sleep over it. But how do you feel about it? He's too arrogant to even answer that question, to even consider how he feels about getting booed.
You know what?
He doesn't even care. So what? They booed me. I got 4 championships. Well, you're gonna finish your career with 4 championships with that attitude.
Is that more frustration or arrogance? I think it's frustration. I think because he hadn't had to deal with this at all.
Did you see him when he answered the question?
Nah.
Well, you got to see the clip. To me, it was very arrogant. Okay. It was basically saying, how the fuck you can ask me a stupid ass question like that?
Oh, well.
He in so many words,
cool dude, man.
That's how he said it. That's how he said it. Am I supposed to lose sleep over it? Like, what a stupid ass question. No, instead of just answering the question. Like, we talked about it last week when it happened.
Yeah.
Like, a person who's really looking at the situation, they're going to say, man, we deserve to get booed. I played like crap. I was 5 for 21. I got to shoot better. That's answering the question, not telling the dude you're stupid for asking me that question.
That's why I'm thinking it's more frustrating.
I think it's arrogance.
Well, he's never had to be. He was never under this scrutiny before, with the team losing as much as it's losing now.
It's like he feels entitled. He's one of the Splash Brothers. How dare you question me?
Yeah, he is one of the Splash Brothers. Was one of the Splash Brothers, because they're not splashing much right now. A little bit more of a little water balloon contest going on with them. But anyways, well, do they even look like a playoff contender this year? I mean, getting into the playoffs, let alone a contender.
I think they're 11th or 12th. I think 12th in the West. So they're not even in the playoff, a playing game position.
Things are getting even worse. Oh, well, we'll have more than enough time to talk about those things, but we're going into this weekend with more NFL. And, of course, we'll get the chance to talk some college basketball, as we still can't get a definitive number 1, as everyone keeps losing as soon as they get that number 1 bracket. You're probably better off being number 2 or 3. At least they leave you alone. You just hope you don't move up to number 1.
Number 1 eventually loses.
You're hoping they move up and you plead your case. Bro, no. I'm cool.
3 or 4. I think that's
in the tournament. Stay number 2. But God, man, this has been some. You know what I noticed too? The quality of basketball is not that good in college anymore, man. It just isn't. Oh my God. I mean, overtime elite taking those kind of plays, and players finding a way to go, to circumvent, the one and done rule, and going to Europe to play and all that. Man, the talent pool isn't there, man. It just isn't. Oh, yeah. God, forget about it.
Unfortunately, I think the best thing going right now is Caitlin Clark.
And that's the truth. She's going to be the reason why the WNBA may get more eyeballs than it would normally get, and probably since its inception. And I'll tell you another thing. I was just talking to someone yesterday about it. They kind of agreed, but didn't want to say it aloud. Bro, the WNBA, they want a superstar like her, but they want a black superstar like her. They don't want this girl coming in. That's what I'm thinking. Well, you know what? She's as good as she is, whether she's black or white, and she's as dominant as she is. She's the reason why when she does come to the WNBA, I'm going to peek and see what the hell she's doing in the first couple of games at least.
I got to be honest, man. When I'm trying to kill time for maybe 15, 20 minutes, I go to YouTube and I come across a Caitlin Clark highlight. I was like, oh, she played last night? I watched.
Bro, that's the truth. That's the kind of player they needed.
It's not just shooting. Like, she'll shoot from the logo, but she drops dimes behind the back. She rebounds. We talked about it before. She's the only player with 3,000 points. I think 750 assists, 750 rebounds.
She's doing everything
In college basketball history, male or female, a list of one. So
yeah.
she does everything. She has 40-point triple doubles like Luka and Jokic sometimes. It's
You know,
crazy.
and I was talking about dominant players in the past, and the one who I thought might have gotten a chance, whether it was politically correct or whether it was just someone being, pushing some type of agenda. I thought Brittany Griner would be that one who got the first opportunity in the NBA coming from the WNBA. That's how dominant she was at Baylor. I mean, I thought, come on, it would have been all farcical if they had done something like that. But I thought if anyone was going to even get that opportunity,
Kwame Brown would have dropped 25 on her.
Oh yeah, easily. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm not even saying from the standpoint of her being good or not.
I don't know what Kwame Brown's career high is, but he might have gotten it that night.
But we're talking about the way our climate is socially these days, where people are acting like we're equal when it comes down to something like that. We're not saying someone is smarter or dumber. We're talking about who's better physically in a game like basketball or a game like football or a sport like boxing. And people still have arguments to make. Oh, I don't know about that. That woman's so tough. We just saw what happened to Clarissa Shields just a couple of weeks ago. Well, the video at least came out a couple of years ago. But in terms of this basketball, I thought Brittany Griner would have been that person that if they wanted to ride it and say, you know what, let's give someone a chance to at least get into the G League or at least get an NBA shot just to see what she does in the camp. I thought she would have been that person. Not saying that Caitlin would be that kind of person, but, man, she's dominating so much, at least on the collegiate level. If she comes into the league and gets MVP, and I don't see any reason why she wouldn't, because the level of talent in the WNBA just isn't that good. She's doing what guys do. Not to say she's going to get that shot, but if there's going to be someone, let her do it. She doesn't have to bang around, doesn't have to do this. Just handle and pass the ball. Be John Stockton. That's it. And I think she can.
CP, like you say John Stockton, people automatically think pick and roll and assist. But John Stockton can shoot too.
He can shoot. And he stole the
better
ball.
shooter than John Stockton, though.
Right now, the smaller ball, little area, and John Stockton defensively played well too.
She's not gonna play defense like Stockton.
No. She's not playing defense like him. I mean, just for the eyeball test and to kind of satisfy these people who kind of want to make their point, because that's where we're at right now as a society. People wanted to make their point about, see, I told you they could compete. This Powerball winner is going to win every time she plays now. You know what I mean? That's what they're talking about. But yeah, I think that's something to talk about with at least her. And I think she's going to do well when she does get to the WNBA. And if they want to take it a step further, for shits and giggles, as they would call it, why not just throw her out there and see if she can do something? She doesn't have to bang around. She doesn't have to be in the paint. Just do those things with space and know how to just have the basketball IQ to get it to the right people. And then hit that three from the half court.
She can stand at the 3-point line and wait for the ball to come to her.
You know what I'm saying? Come on now.
Robert Ory, Steve Kerr, Danny Green, all those guys made good careers for themselves standing by.
It's something to look at because that's what we're talking about these days, man. I mean, I wish we weren't. We should know the difference between men and women when it comes down to sports. But not everyone wants to agree on that. So we'll take it from there and talk about what happened in the football game this past weekend. We'll talk about that on Monday. We don't have to have a Monday night game to worry about either. This time it's all going to get handled during the right time of Saturday and Sunday, another step closer to the Super Bowl. I'm Trav, he's Biased, and the Sports Bag Bros podcast is signing off for another weekend. Deuces.
Peace.